Hello, my name's Neil Bushnell. I'm an author and an artist, and I'm fascinated by ancient myths and fairy tales. Today, I'm in Kielder Water and Forest Park in the northeast of England, and I'm here because of a story about a creature that's meant to live in these woods and forests. It's an old story, and nobody really knows where it comes from. But like all myths and fairy tales, maybe there's some truth hiding between the lines. It's called the Kielder Brag. Chapter 1. The Childhood Friend. Long ago, in a time where there were no cities for 100 miles in any direction, and men and women folk were one with the land and the sky, there was a young man called Brook who dreamed of adventure and fortune. Brook lived with his father on their farm, just north of the village of Kielder. His mother had died the previous winter, and Brook's father was broken of mind and body. Brook was a good spirit and worked hard, but there was too much for one pair of hands to do, and he lacked the wisdom of his father's years. When harvest came, Brook toiled until his body could move no more, but no matter how hard he tried, it was not enough to save them from poverty. And all the while, Brook gazed to the horizon, to the unseen adventures waiting for him just beyond the farthest tree. One morning, as the first kiss of winter touched the fields and rooftops of the farm, Brook set out to walk the hard land, hoping the chill wind might blow his worries away. He climbed to the top of Deadwater Fell and rested there, looking out across the misty land, thinking how he might save his father's farm from ruin. His head heavy, he stared at the patch of grass between his feet and spied a single daisy. The yellow and white of the flower seemed vivid against the damp fog, and Brook reached down and plucked it from the soil. He held it between his fingers and studied the simple form, then put the stem through the buttonhole of his jacket so that the splash of colour might lift his spirits. As he sat on a rock and pondered his problems, with no answers coming to mind, his ears caught a haunting song drifting on the mist. It was a woman's voice, gentle and musical, young and ancient all at once. The words he did not recognise, for they were sung in an ancient tongue that had died long before Brook's feet had touched this earth. Yet he could not help but be swept up in the emotion of the music. As the lilting tune ended, the mists revealed a young woman with golden hair walking up the hill towards him. The stranger smiled at Brook, and, in that way that young people often do, he fell instantly in love with her. "Good day to you, sir," she said, her smile drawing him closer. "What brings you up to the top of Deadwater Fell on the half day of harvest?" Brook, his thoughts consumed by the fair lady's beauty, found himself lost for words. Eventually he replied, "I came here to think." "Any other day, this is a good place for the mind," she replied with a coy wink. "But today is the time of Alban Elford, when the land and the light are matched, when the day and the night are equal, and the lines betwixt the worlds become mere shadows. You should not be upon the fell today, young Brook." Startled, he replied, You know my name." "Aye, I know you, Brook the younger of old Brook's farm." "And who are you, fair maiden?" Brook asked excitedly. The girl laughed. "You already know me, Brook. We have met many times before, but you were just a child, and you looked out of the world with eyes of a child, eyes that see more than any grown man's." Something sparked in Brook's mind, a flicker of recollection. The girl continued, "We danced by the stream in the long hours of summer, and I showed you how to catch a soilfish. We played in the trees, and I taught you the language of wood. We met at night, and we walked through the dreams of men under the solstice stars." The memory of those lost days of youth burst into Brook's mind, like a dusty old book, read once but long forgotten, until its pages are turned again. "I do know you," Brook gasped. "You are Haldora. We met when I was a boy, but I thought you were just a dream, an imagination of my youthful mind." "Children see what men cannot understand or choose to ignore," Haldora said tunefully. Brook stared at the maiden. When he had last seen her, she had been just a little girl. Now Haldora was a young woman, and Brook's heart beat faster as he took in her radiant beauty. "It is pleasing to see you once more. You brightened up this grey day and my mood." "There is much on your mind," Haldora noted. You carry the woes of 2 people on your shoulders. 2 people? She nodded. Yours and your father's. Brooke sighed. The farm is dying. I've tried to save it, but I cannot do it alone. We have no money to hire more help. Soon we will lose everything. And you will be glad, she replied knowingly. Glad? Not a bit of it, Brooke insisted. Haldora's eyes narrowed. When the farm is gone, your burden will be lifted, your toil at an end. You will be penniless, but you will have 2 feet and strong arms. You can walk to the farthest hill and beyond. You can work and find adventure over the horizon. Brooke blushed. It was as if she knew his desires better than even he. But my duty is to my father and the farm. Haldora moved closer, a hand touching his shoulder. You can still save your farm if that is what you really desire. Yes, truly, he said. Even as he spoke, he pictured himself exploring a faraway land with this beautiful woman at his side. Haldora asked, "The welfare of the farm is your greatest desire?" Brooke hesitated, then replied steadfastly, "Yes." She smiled and pointed towards the misty horizon. As if responding to her gesture, the fog parted enough for him to see the distant river. Down there, in the dark waters, resides a brag. A brag? 'Tis an ancient beast that dwells in the divide between wood and water, between air and idea. It is said it can bestow great riches or great ruin on a man. How? If your heart is true and your cause a just one, then the brag must grant your wish. But the brag is a trickster, and he will not submit easily. If you lose, you and your family will be forever more cursed. The ruin you face today will be as nothing compared to the misery that awaits. Brooke nodded, hypnotized by her beautiful features. I will find this brag. I will make him grant my wish. Haldora shook her head patiently. No, child. You cannot force him to do your bidding. Calm your mind and listen to what I have said, for it may yet save your life and your farm. I'm sorry, Brooke whispered. Please continue. Wait by the river, Haldora explained. When the sun sinks into the water, listen for the brag. If you see him, you may seek your heart's desire. Brooke smiled, edging closer to Haldora. He so wanted to kiss her. Your thoughts must be clear, she warned. Know your desire and picture it in your mind. Do not be swayed by impermanent needs. Impermanent needs? Brooke asked, as the mist thickened in front of him. When the fog cleared again, there was no sign of Haldora. Brooke searched around the hilltop, desperate to see her once more. But she was gone. As the moments passed, her face grew vague in his mind, and the memory of their meeting slipped from his thoughts like water over rocks. Eventually, not knowing why, he walked down the hill towards the river.